This is my lovely Kim.
Nice. What did you just do today? Why is she here?
Kim, Kim was brave enough to share her story, about her struggles that she's had with her health, and she told me that she would come and share her story to help inspire people, and that's the reason that we're here, is to help people around the world and let people know that there are different alternative answers. If the medications are not working for them, that there are other things that they can do. And Kim came to be a pillar and a light and a voice for those who are looking for help.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Pillar, you were sharing with us your story, and I wanted to ask you, did you ever, because of what happened with your family and your dad and other members of your family, did you ever consider suicide yourself?
Absolutely not.
No?
I decided a long time ago it was going to stop with me.
And you did it?
And I did.
She did it. Yeah.
Kim, I'm interested in your journey. Can you tell me, what was the mental health condition that you were facing?
Well, it started back with my grandfather. He committed suicide when I was 4 years old. And then 20 years later, my dad committed suicide 16 days before my wedding. And somewhere in there, I started getting depressed, only I didn't know that I was depressed until about probably 15, 20 years later. I kept going into my room and just kind of sitting there in the dark and staring off into space and stuff, and my family would be like, "Where are you?" And finally I went to my regular doctor, and I told her, "I'm not feeling right." And she gave me this kind of like little basic test, and she said, "Well, it seems that you must be depressed, so let's put you on this drug." And that started me on 13 years of antidepressants.
Wow. What do you think caused the depression and the suicidal thoughts, and then finally the actions of your grandfather and your father? What do you think was the causative agent for them?
Well, I know I don't really know much about what was going on with my grandfather. I know there was some problem with another person who was harassing him, but I think there was some other stuff going on, but there's nobody left for me to ask, so I don't really know. My dad was an alcoholic, and he just couldn't get himself better, so he just ended it. He
Wow.
just ended it.
Why do you think he was an alcoholic? What was the pain that he was medicating? He was in politics for a lot of his life, and he was also kind of insecure, and he felt like he always had to be like the center of attention to get people to like him, and so he would do things like go drinking with people to make friends. Mm-hmm.
And I think it just took hold of him.
Yeah.
And he just, people start drinking, and sometimes they just, all of a sudden they realize, hey, there's a problem here. And he did try to get help, but it just didn't work.
Do you think that he got let down when he asked for help?
Probably at some points.
Who let him down?
He would say probably that each one of us in the family did at some point, but that's the alcoholic talking. It's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
I think the system let him down. He did go through the VA, and they're stretched to the max. Even back then, they were stretched to the max, and they just couldn't necessarily do anything. And I think that there's holes in the way that people are treated.
Yeah. And he didn't have resources like the one that we're creating right now that you're in, which is sad.
Yeah.
Tremendously sad, obviously. We'll come back to that. You mentioned 13 years of being on antidepressants. Mm-hmm. What were the antidepressants you were taking, and what were the effects of those on you?
I took Lexapro, and I took that for a year. And my doctor had said, well, just take it for a year, and hopefully, this was right after my grandmother and my brother died 4 months apart. And it was just really too much for me to handle, losing both of them, because I was close to both of them. And she said, just take this for a year, and then we'll see how it goes. You know, hopefully it'll jolt you back into, you know, health or whatever. And I took it for a year, and I got off of it, and it was worse than before I got on it. And so then she put me back on that one, and it didn't work anymore. And then she put me on something else, and put me on something else, and increased it. And, you know, we did a lot of manipulating over 13 years, and it just never really worked. It kind of mellowed me out a little bit, but it didn't cure it.
Yeah. And were there any adverse side effects that you can remember?
I just didn't, I felt like there was like a barrier between me and everybody else. Like I couldn't feel, you know how you feel emotion? I could feel it a little bit, but it, like, I couldn't emote my feelings, or I don't know how to explain it really. It was just kind of like a barrier. There was a barrier.
What did that feel like for you?
Kind of numb all the time.
And what was that like for you?
I felt like I was missing out on things, and I know I did. I missed out on things with my kids and things with my husband and the rest of the family. And, you know, I could get myself up and go to work in the morning, and I could do my job, but I didn't feel like I was really doing it to the best of my ability, because I didn't feel like I could really put everything into it.
Do you have regrets?
Yeah, some. I feel like I wish I had talked more to different people, or maybe looked for help other than just my regular doctor.
What did you do to get better?
Well, I guess it's been about 5 years ago, I started looking at holistic practices, because the regular doctors, allopathic doctors, all they want to do is throw pills at stuff. And it's like that George Orwell book, 1984, they had a pill for everything. And, you know, you take one, it gives you a side effect, then you have to take another one, and it gives you a side effect, and it's just like a house of cards after a while. You know, eventually it's going to kill you, you know. And I just didn't want to be one of those people that was on 50 drugs trying to fix one problem. And so I went to a holistic doctor, and she got me started on a program. And then 2 years into that, she went on maternity leave, and Dr. V took over. And she really worked on me, and I got off antidepressants about 1.5 years ago. She helped me wean off of them, and I'm doing much better. Still have my days, but I'm doing much better.
Amazing. And so, what drugs are you taking right now?
None.
Do you need them?
Nope.
How do you know that you don't need them?
Because I feel better. I feel.
What's that like for you?
It's kind of liberating, you know? It is kind of liberating. And I was kind of hiding in a hole all the time, you know, worrying about what people were thinking, or, you know, there was a part of me that if somebody said something that would set me off, it was like word vomit. I would just spit it out, and and I'd get really angry and stuff. And now I can hold my tongue. You know, it's much easier. It is much easier.
Was that even on the antidepressants?
Yes.
So you were having those explosive reactions even under the inhibition, would you say, of the drugs? Like, because they typically have an inhibiting effect, but it sounds like with you, they kind of removed a bit of a filter for you as well.
Yeah, a little bit.
And did that hurt any of your relationships?
I've lost a few friends. I have lost a few friends. And that's pretty hard, but they didn't understand, or they didn't want to understand, maybe. I don't know. There's still a bit of a stigma attached to mental things and alcoholism, because I know when my dad was sick, we lost a lot of friends too, because it was almost like they were afraid they were going to catch it.
Really?
And I've seen that reaction with people, even now with me. You know, well, there's something wrong with her. I don't want to catch that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned losing some friends. They sound like they were people that were close to you, that mattered to you.
A couple of them, yeah, pretty close.
And what does that feel like for you to have that loss?
That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they added things to my life, and I kind of missed that, but.
Yeah. I appreciate you being able to share that, because I think a lot of people that are watching this right now can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
They feel alone. They feel like the worst person in the world. Did you ever feel like the worst person in the world?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Like a monster?
Maybe not that bad, but yeah, just like there's something wrong with me, and I must be doing something wrong that is making them hate me, and it really wasn't in my control. But, you know, that's when I started looking for help. So
yeah, well, there's the blessing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the loss for you and the breaking of the relationships brought you to a point where you're like, I really need to solve this at its root core, because it's very much in human nature to look for a pill to solve the problem, so we don't have to really do anything to make that change. We're not ready to change habits and behaviors, because my guess is the protocol that you went on, there was some changing. There were some things you had to do, but the person that's willing to do that is a person that's had loss typically. Like, they were ready to sacrifice, and the sacrifice isn't great, but our human nature just perceives everything of change as an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
But change in this case is the only way to heal. And so you healed, but what is it that you did? What did you do to get better? What were the steps that you took? What were the things you put in your diet? What were the things that you put out of your diet? How did you change your lifestyle? Was exercise a part of it? Was sunlight a part of it? What supplements did you take? I want to know. And you obviously saw a doctor as well, and I'm happy for you to mention who you saw and all that type of thing.
Well, when I went to my regular doctor, it was after my brother had died, and I remember thinking, at least he didn't die as an alcoholic. He wasn't being harassed or anything. He died in a car accident. And I said, the problem with my dad and my grandfather is going to stop with me. I am not going to be one of those people. I'm not going to do what they did. And so that 13 years on the medications, I was working, I was reading stuff, trying to figure out what to do, and then that's when I discovered the holistic aspect of it. And we did blood work, and we looked at like hormone levels and my diet and everything, and we put me on an elimination diet and removed everything, sugar, gluten, you name it. I was down to just eating rabbit food for a while. And
how long?
Probably a good 6 weeks. Just real basic green leafies and a few other vegetables, and that was it. And then we started adding things back in to see what would cause me to have a reaction, or and so I got to where I got my diet pretty stable, and the supplements, when I started with Dr. V, she did more blood work, and we did a genetic test and found the MTHFR gene has the little, well, they call them SNPs. I'm not sure what that's short for, but I had the little snips on that gene, and so she put me on a methylation supplement, and several different other like vitamins and minerals that we determined from the blood work that I was short on. We've been tweaking my diet, you know, so I'm still having problems with some things. Like I just removed all the nightshades because they were causing problems. And I do exercise. I do Pilates pretty regular, and walking. Drink lots of water, filtered water. Sleep is still a problem, which is a problem with people that have depression. And I've always had sleep problems, so that will probably always be a problem, but I'm working on it.
Maybe not.
Hopefully not.
I don't think so. Have you done any anti-parasite protocols?
Only Candida.
Okay, so would you be willing to commit with me on camera to do an anti-parasite protocol?
Absolutely.
Great. And I'll talk to Elena, and we'll both direct you with that. And I'd love for you to report back on your symptoms with your depression and anxiety. Did you qualify under anxiety or just depression?
Just depression.
Yeah, so I'd like to check in with you with your symptoms and just how you're going on the scale, because it sounds like you're at like a 90% or something like that. I don't know what your number is. I mean, you tell me, what number would you give yourself right now? You can choose whatever number.
For
depression, like
for
how
depression,
far are you out of the woods?
I'd say I'm probably about 75% out.
Great. So let's see what we
Yeah.
can do with this other 25%. Some of the insights we're sharing in this series, I think that they could be a huge help. But the first thing that I see is the anti-parasite. And have you done any chelation with the heavy metals?
No.
Any supplement that would help? Okay, so then we'll do the carbons as well. It's not like expensive. It's not expensive, but we'll share with you, and we'll get you any discounts as well. But just a couple of supplements that have like carbons to pull out toxic metals. Would you be willing to do that?
Sure.
Great. So those two things are the only two things that I would like you to kind of do, and then we can see what else between now and then. I'd like to check back with you like in 3 weeks. We can exchange contacts and track with you with your journey. This is going to be really exciting.
Okay.
It could be a really great help. You deserve to be fully better. If you could talk to your dad right now, what would you say to him? What would be your message to him? You can say anything you like.
Well, just that I know it's not his fault. You know, I remember after he died, the pastor of our church, and I don't know what possessed him to say this, but he said, "Do you feel guilty?" And I said, "Why would I feel guilty? I didn't do it." You know, I would just tell him that, I forgive him, even though I don't really think he did anything that needs to be forgiven for. He was just trying to get some relief, but, and I miss him. He was a really good dad up until the point he got sick. I had him through my childhood, and he lost his job, I think, when I was 14. So I had him for the good part of childhood, and that was really good.
Wow, it's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. That's beautiful. What was the name of the doctor you saw? The holistic doctor?
Holistic doctor, I started out with Dr. Ward's, and I moved over to Dr. Villanueva when Dr. Ward's went on maternity leave.
Yeah, cool.
And I've been with her ever since.
Great. Dr. Elena, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, and finally, what do you think of the work we're doing? Because I know you've been tracking with what I do. What do you think of what we're doing?
I think it's really interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody else see how you see what's new. What can I try?
Great. You've been following along, watching our series. Have we helped you at all, like in your journey, or whether it's feeling supported or learning a a new thing that you could try out? Have we been of help to you at all?
Yeah, I'm always interested. I'm always watching documentaries, and I'm always trying to learn new stuff, and then I'll try stuff if I haven't done it before, you know, and just to see. The Bible Health Secrets, that was really good, because I do like to pull things from the Bible and try to apply them to my life. So that was really helpful.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for everything. I'm really thrilled that you did this with us today, and look forward to reconnecting with you in your journey. Cool. Let's do it.
Thanks.
Give us a hug here. Thanks, Kim.